It's never too late to switch positions.
They'll go to trickery. And a toss. Lefty Jennings to Mariota.
Maybe, just maybe, these 10 struggling NFL players could revive their careers if they were to try a different position. Trey Lance, wide receiver. The San Francisco 49ers surrendered a king's ransom to the Miami Dolphins for the 3rd overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft. With that selection, the 49ers took North Dakota State quarterback Trey Lance. After backing up Jimmy Garoppolo in his rookie year, Lance entered 2022 as the starting QB. Unfortunately, he suffered a season-ending ankle injury in Week 2, and the unexpected rise of Brock Purdy prompted San Fran to trade Lance to the Dallas Cowboys after just 4 starts. Lance saw no backup time as Dak Prescott's backup in 2023. Heck, he's not even the number 2 QB on the depth chart. That role is saved for Cooper Rush, one of the league's best backup QBs. So at this rate, Lance's best bet at sticking around in the NFL long-term may be just to change positions. And given his skill set, why not wide receiver? Lance dazzled as a dual-threat QB in college. He had 1,100 rushing yards and 14 rushing scores in the 2019 season alone. One might argue that Lance would actually be better off at running back, but his 6'4" and 226-pound frame makes him an enticing option to try out at receiver. Lance's speed and athleticism mean that he could flourish as another receiving option behind CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks. If anything else, they could at least just use him in a Taysom Hill-like role. Even Terrell Pryor had a 1,000-yard season as a receiver after an uninspiring start to his career as a quarterback. Jamal Adams, linebacker. Adams was one of football's premier defensive players in his 3 years with the New York Jets. Hence the Seattle Seahawks' decision to acquire him in a 2020 blockbuster trade that included 2 first-round picks as a part of the package. Adams was a major problem in coverage during his run with the Seahawks, but they had good reason to overlook it. His 9.5 sacks in the 2020 season marked a single-season record for a defensive back and helped Seattle win the NFC West Division crown. But unfortunately, injuries limited Adams to 22 games over the next 3 years, and he didn't have a single sack in that period. That left Seattle with an easy choice to cut the 3-time Pro Bowler and a cap-saving move this offseason. Interestingly, ESPN's Brady Henderson reported after the draft that Seattle is leaving the door open to bring back Adams if he'd be willing to make the switch to linebacker. And you know, add us to that list of those endorsing the idea. I mean, heck, why not? The 6'1", 213-pound Adams has enough size to be a quality linebacker in this league. His calling card is the pass rush anyway, so why not go there instead of being the occasional pass rusher of a safety who still gets lit up in coverage time and time again? Adams isn't even 30 yet. There is time to revive his career, but he'll need to change positions to do so, and linebacker is exactly where he should go. Asaiah Simmons, cornerback. The Clemson product played corner, safety, linebacker, and defensive end at college. That versatility and elite athleticism made Simmons a can't-miss prospect, and the Arizona Cardinals selected him 8th overall in 2020. But fast forward 4 years later, and Simmons is now on his 2nd team and hasn't come anywhere close to reaching his potential at the NFL level. After 3 disappointing years in Arizona, Simmons was traded to the New York Giants in 2023. Simmons was mostly safety and special teams player, tallying 1 interception and 3 pass breakups. At this rate, we'd like to see Simmons try another position change. It didn't work at linebacker, and his play at safety last year left a lot to be desired. That brings us to the cornerback position. Could you imagine an insane athlete of his size, 6'4" and 238 pounds, matching up against the opposition's top receiver? I mean, even just seeing Simmons try it out against guys like Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and Devontae Adams would be worthwhile. Simmons' freakish athleticism, physicality, and frame could actually make him a quality shutdown corner in football. We're not saying he'd be a lock to succeed there, but we're also saying that the Giants don't know what they have with Simmons as a possible cornerback unless they actually try it out. Chase Claypool, tight end. After the Chicago Bears traded Claypool to the Miami Dolphins, CBS Sports' Jonathan Jones indicated that the Canadian kid might make a switch to tight end. Well, that didn't happen, and Claypool was hardly seen in his short-lived stint with Miami. He was given another chance, however, after signing with the Buffalo Bills in free agency. At 6'4" and 238 pounds, Claypool has the ideal build to be a tight end. His lack of explosive speed will prevent him from being a star in the NFL, but the 2-time 800-yard receiver might as well give it a go at TE. I mean, Claypool isn't stealing reps from Buffalo's top receivers in Keon Coleman, Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir, and Marquez Valdes-Scantling. But what if the Bills' crafty offensive-minded coaches decided to give Claypool a look at tight end? Claypool doesn't offer much of a route-running tree, but he can succeed in third-down situations and in the red zone, especially on Josh Allen's deadly play play-action passes. So instead of being like a number 6 receiver or whatever in Buffalo, we'd like to see Claypool instead try his hand at forming a dynamic tight end tandem with Dalton Kincaid. I mean, seriously, what does Claypool even have to lose at this point? Jeff Auda, safety. Injuries have limited the former Ohio State quarterback to 38 total games over his first 4 NFL seasons. The Detroit Lions quickly gave up on the 3rd overall pick of 2020 by sending him to the Atlanta Falcons ahead of the 2023 NFL Draft. Auda was not brought back following a lackluster season there, and he wound up signing with the reigning AFC South champion Houston Texans. Auda has been a liability in man coverage throughout his career, so it's hard to imagine him lasting at corner much longer. According to Pro Football Reference, Auda has allowed a passer rating of 87.6 or higher when targeted in each of his first 4 seasons. Maybe Auda could revive his career if he made the move to safety. I mean, New England Patriots legend Devin was a mainstay following a move there after struggling at cornerback. Auda might not have the speed and build to hang in there with the opposition's top wide receivers, but his football IQ and nose for the football could make him a quality starting safety in today's NFL. Kenneth Murray, defensive end. Murray landed with the Tennessee Titans this offseason after a disappointing 4-year run with the Los Angeles Chargers. The number 23 pick of 2020 was constantly picked apart in coverage and finished with only 5 sacks. Also, he never finished with a PFF grade of higher than 54.4 in a single season. Murray's best trait in college was the pass rush. He had 8.5 sacks over his last 2 seasons there, but his other skills at Oklahoma just didn't translate over to the NFL. Now that Murray plays in Tennessee, it feels like a pretty opportune time for him to try his hand at defensive end. The Titans have one of the league's better front sevens led by Jeffrey Simmons, Arden Key, Harold Landry, and promising rookie T'Vondre Sweat. Maybe a move to defensive end, or heck, even defensive tackle, could help Murray hit his ceiling. It'll allow him to focus mostly on honing his craft as a pass rusher without the stress of playing man-to-man coverage, something that he is obviously not cut out for. Evan Neal, guard. It's hard to remember now, but there was once a time when Neal was among the favorites to go first overall in the very mediocre 2022 NFL draft class. Of course, that honor wound up going to Trayvon Walker. Neal, a star offensive tackle from Alabama, went 7th overall to the New York Giants, 2 years after they used another early pick on fellow tackle Andrew Thomas. But Neal has been literally one of the worst starters in football since his rookie year. According to Pro Football Focus, Neal has allowed 9 sacks and committed 12 penalties, with his 2022 and 2023 PFF grades coming in at 44.1 and 39.8 respectively. Neal might not end up cutting it at offensive tackle, but the Giants should at least see if a switch to guard will reverse his fortunes. Neal hasn't been able to handle the opposition's top edge rushers, but maybe he'd have better luck in the interior O-line. As a guard, he could use that mammoth 6'7", 340-pound frame to bully his way over less speedy and athletic players like defensive tackles and linebackers. Devin White, defensive end. White is one of the more baffling players in recent memory. The number 5 pick of 2019 was a beast in his first 2 seasons, and you can argue that he was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers' most valuable player of the postseason in their Super Bowl 55 run after Tom Brady. That year, White had 4 pass breakups, 9 sacks, and 140 combined tackles. In 3 playoff games, he had 2 interceptions and a pair of forced fumbles en route to a Super Bowl title. But White's play has inexplicably regressed ever since. He has been downright helpless in pass coverage, and PFF has graded his run D at 46.9 or lower in each of his first 5 seasons. White's best skill was always rushing the passer. With 23 career sacks and 86 pressures dating back to 2020, White has made his mark as a wrecker of havoc in the trenches. Now, if only he could stop being relied upon in coverage. White got the fresh start that he sorely needed by landing with the Philadelphia Eagles this offseason, and they already have 2 promising studs at linebacker in Nolan Smith and Nakobe Dean, so there's just no sense placing White at linebacker. The Eagles should put White at defensive end and let them focus mostly on chasing that QB with Philly's loaded group of pass rushers, namely Jalen Carter, Josh Sweat, and Bryce Huff. Just maybe White will regain his Pro Bowl form if he's put in a position that actually maximizes his best skill. Marcus Mariota, wide receiver. It's unfortunate that the number 2 pick of the 2015 NFL Draft could never find his touch as a pocket passer because the other tools were there. One of the fastest QBs to ever take to the field, Mariota got by as Tennessee's starter for 4 years because of his dual threat game. Remember, this guy was once clocked at 21.05 miles per hour on a running play in a 2019 game by Next Gen Stats. Since 2019, Mariota has only been the primary starting quarterback once, with the Atlanta Falcons in the 2022 season. Similar to Trey Lance, we'd like to see Mariota make a move to wide receiver. His speed and 6'4", 222-pound frame could make Mariota a difference maker in the right offensive scheme. Or may we again suggest a Taysom Hill Swiss Army knife-like role? Rather than switch teams to be a clipboard holder each year, Mariota should try his hand at receiver and see if it can save his career. Otherwise, it's not going to be long until he's out of the league altogether. Justin Fields, wide receiver. We conclude this list with one last pitched idea of a former highly touted QB making a switch to pass catcher. Yes, there's time for Fields to revive his career following a trade to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Even if the former Ohio State QB doesn't replace Russell Wilson in Steel City, he is a free agent in 2025 and should draw considerable interest. But instead of thinking about becoming a starting QB again, why not try his hand at wide receiver? For what it's worth, Steelers running back Jalen Warren stated that the team discussed using Fields as a kick returner. Fields just hasn't really cut it as a passer, with just 40 TD passes and an average of 166.9 passing yards per game through his first 3 years. However, he has dazzled as a runner with 2,220 rushing yards and 14 TDs on the ground, including a whopping 1,143 rushing yards alone in the 2022 season. At 6'3" and 227 pounds, Fields has the size to be a menacing pass catcher in this league. As a QB, he already has the mobility, agility, speed, and balance aspects all down, so he could easily find success as a route runner as well. Fields' build isn't enough to be a tight end or running back, but he could be an impactful wide receiver in the right offense. And if it doesn't work out, Fields can go back to QB. But his enticing skill set and dual threat game make him a guy worthy of a look at wide receiver. But hey, which other NFL players could save their careers if they switch positions? Let us know in the comment section below. If you liked this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton, but hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, well, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.